Thanksgiving festivities started a little early yesterday. And no, I'm not talking about Hunter Dickinson after he's kicking people in the head there for KU. Mark's got his KU gear on. Hey, great win last night, but tell Hunter to stop kicking people in the head.
Yeah, that was a little overboard. I mean, maybe he shouldn't have been thrown out with 10 minutes left in the game, but can't be kicking people.
You can't be kicking people like that. Come on, Hunter. What are you doing, brother? Usually when I say, come on, Hunter, on this show, it means something totally different and about somebody totally different. But I'll drop a Hunter Dickinson reference every now and then. KU beating Duke last night. Mark's all decked out this morning. But it was Kamala Harris, of course, still vice president, former Democratic nominee, who dropped this video yesterday to Democratic donors. And the official Democratic account on X shared this 2 days before Thanksgiving. So we're sitting here on the day before Thanksgiving, and I don't know if Kamala got the party started a little early or what's going on here, but it doesn't sound good. And if you haven't seen it, I'll share it on X at Pete Mundo. It looks even worse.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Don't let them take their power. Don't let them take the power from you. Mark, don't let them take the power from you. Stay strong there, boys. You're going to make it.
We will survive.
You will survive.
Stuart Smalley, Daily Affirmations from Saturday Night Live.
Well, you know, as I'm watching the clip, it's funny you bring up an old TV show reference. I thought of Wedding Singer, and I thought about the part of Wedding Singer when Adam Sandler is down on his luck and he's drunk on stage and he goes into singing Love Stinks.
You guys are off to a great start, don't you think? I mean, Cindy showed up, so right away, Scott, you got to be pretty psyched, right?
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
You know what's funny? Some of us will never ever find true love.
But the worst thing is that me, Fatty, Sideburns Lady, and the mutants over at Table 9 will never ever find a way to better the situation. Because apparently we have absolutely nothing to offer.
Look, this mission that we have, it takes hard work. But as you've heard me say many times, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work. And in doing our work, we will remain committed and intentional about building community, building coalitions, reminding people that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. We will be armed with the faith and the fuel that tells us what is possible and then drives us to achieve it.
Oh, gosh, so inspirational, fellas. I don't know how we could do another 3 hours and 50 minutes of this show after those kind of inspirational words from the vice president and former Democratic nominee. Oh, gosh.
Got some faith. I'm a little low on fuel this morning.
Yeah, I get it. I hope a lot of people are off today. But we are here. No days off. We're rocking and rolling on KCMO Talk Radio. See, that kind of a video is only released by some staff members who can't stand the boss. Nobody in their right mind would have put out that video about Kamala Harris and been like, this looks good. This is a great look for the boss. This is exactly what she wants to share with the American people. No one's really seen her in weeks, right? And this is the first video that you want to put out there on behalf of you and your campaign. It is a horrific look. And it just makes me realize that we dodged a bullet. I mean, no pun intended, given there were actual nominees dodging bullets over the last few months. But you look at what Kamala Harris was saying, how she came off in that video. I'm not going to make any allegations. I'm not. Social media can do that. I will just say it doesn't sound good, and it looks even worse. And a part of me feels like Democrats deep down know they have a problem here and had a problem with this nominee, just like they knew it with Joe Biden. They had a problem and they covered it up. And now you've created this trust deficit with the American people that is going to take a very long time to regain. It's not going to happen next week, next month, or even next year. It is going to take time for them to regain that enthusiasm, certainly with their base, and also just regain the trust of the American people and the swing voters in particular. The swing voters who helped Donald Trump win 7 of 7 swing states. Smoke it out in the Electoral College, and then also, of course, win the popular vote. They have got themselves a major uphill climb here. And if this video that was about 10 minutes, and the whole point of the video was to basically thank Democratic donors and thank everyday donors for giving money to Kamala Harris's campaign, and it totally backfired on them. I mean, in a major way. And it's not just like right-wing media that's saying this stuff. Here's the headline from Newsweek, which Newsweek was in the tank. I don't think they're actually like a publication anymore. They're just online. Headline, Kamala Harris's video goes viral and raises eyebrows, : quote, hard to watch. It is incredibly hard to watch. And I will put it up here on X shortly at Pete Mundo so you can see it for yourself, because you really got to see it to believe it, John.
Dr. Jill's been busy on her burner account, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. Joe secretly is just doing cartwheels over this whole thing. I mean, there's got to be a part of him that deep down, as he gets set for Thanksgiving. I saw he was going to Nantucket last night, so he's on one of his final vacations on the taxpayer dole. So it'll be nice to get him off the dole. If nothing else, Doge gets off to a good start getting Trump or getting Biden off the taxpayer dime. So that is a step in the right direction. But deep down, he has got to be doing cartwheels. Joe Biden has a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. While, yes, maybe he wanted 4 more years, in some respects, this is a best case scenario for him because he can go down in history as the only Democrat to actually beat Donald Trump. Wasn't Hillary, wasn't Kamala, the supposedly historic figures that the Obamas and everybody else desperately wanted. It was Joe Biden. Now, yes, do I believe he got some help with a perfect storm set of circumstances? COVID, mail-in ballots all over the place. Yeah, sure. But in the end, when you simplistically break it down, Biden can go to his grave saying, you know what, I'm the only guy to beat Trump. And that is something that he, especially after seeing this video last night, has got to be grateful for. Coming up on KCMO, we'll get a check-in from KCI up at the airport. Nathan Brennan, KCTV5, is going to be here. We're here for you all morning long at 913-408-7957. Our text line appears to be down. I got word of that from other folks in the building, so it's not just us. We've got several radio stations here, and our text line is down. So that means you got to do it the old-fashioned way. Call us, drop us a note on Facebook, on X, but the text line is down this morning, but that's okay. We're here till 10 o'clock on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. I've got my brother flying into town later today from Boston, and he's convinced it's going to be, like a Tuesday in May. He's like, it's always overrated. There's never that much traffic. I'm like, dude, come on.
Don't underestimate Jackson County and the city of Kansas City.
Well, that's true, too.
Right.
Yeah. He thinks it's going to be just a hunky-dory day of travel for him. It's like, man, this is not the day.
Bless his optimism.
Yeah, well, you ain't kidding.
I'm going up tomorrow morning.
Oh, are you?
Mrs. is leaving for Phoenix on a 6:20 flight. Yeah.
She's going to Phoenix on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah.
Oh, so you
Get
got
there
the
at
day to
8:30.
yourself?
Yeah.
Are you going to be by yourself?
I will not be by myself. No, I've got a whole extended family.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I'd
Several
invite
of
you
which
over.
listen to the program frequently.
Oh, good. So you don't have to deal with any of that stuff where it's like, Are you going to have
I am blessed.
any woke Karens there at the Thanksgiving? No? Okay. Good. Good for you.
But we will talk about them.
Well, you know what? You're right, John. And this is something I saw from Larry. Remember Larry the Cable Guy? Old
Sure.
Larry the Cable Guy. He posted this 8 hours ago on X. He says, I've got 14 total people coming to our place for Thanksgiving. 3 don't agree politically with me. But guess what? We're going to celebrate Thanksgiving, overeating, have some laughs, watch some football with our pants unsnapped, asking if anyone has Tums just like always. You know why? Writes Larry the Cable Guy. Because we love one another and neither one of us are crybaby, politically brainwashed idiots with mental problems. Correction. My wife said I have a mental problem. Happy Thanksgiving. God is good in the good days and the bad days. How about that? There you go.
Boom, boom, boom.
Well said by Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy's the Nebraska fan, right?
I believe he's a Nebraska fan.
He'll probably be watching some football on Friday.
I'm sure he'll be locked in all weekend. You're going to have that turkey hangover on Friday.
Yep.
Got a little Colorado game at 10 a.m. local time, so there's going to be a lot going on. Then you got the Chiefs and the Raiders Friday afternoon. It's going to be good. Very, very good. Now, things I'm also thankful for when I look back on the last few weeks in particular. Maybe my favorite moment from election night 2024, and it was when it became very obvious that Kamala Harris was not going to win, and this thing was trending heavily towards Donald Trump. It was not official yet, but it looked like it was going to be Donald Trump's night. And Joy Reid, and any conservative should be grateful for Joy Reid because it's the gift that just keeps on giving over at MSNBC. It was Joy Reid trying to convince everybody that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign. Let's roll the clip.
And I think it's important to say that, anyone who has experienced or been in the United States for any period of time and experienced this country's history and knows it cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color. Mm-hmm. Let's just be clear. Mm-hmm. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swiftie to the Swifties. She had the Beehive. You could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's.
Oh my gosh. I am so grateful that mindset still exists. That Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign. And the evidence of that flawless campaign is the Swifties, Queen Latifah, and the Beehive, which are Beyonce fans, in case you were wondering. Those are the examples that you use to justify a flawless campaign. Getting celebrity endorsements. Yeah, no Democrat in modern American history has ever gotten the endorsement of big celebrities before. That is just, boy.
Talk about a bombshell.
That never happens in American politics. You mean celebrities coming out for Democrats? Yeah, we don't see. That is a rarity, I'll tell you. But there is Joy Reid. That clip in particular stands out to me as one that I will be grateful for a very long time.
And as she's speaking, Rachel Maddow, it looks like she's kind of starting to feel like she knows what's happening, and she won't look at the camera, and she's kind of looking down away from everything, looking like she's going to go into hiding soon.
Now, are you sure that's Rachel Maddow and not Mark Cuban?
It might be Mark Cuban.
Okay. I didn't know if that was Mark Cuban with some hair dye, or is that Rosie O'Donnell?
Could be Rosie, too. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm getting everybody confused these days. The three of them just continue to look more and more like each other. I don't know what's going on. The only way I can tell Rosie O'Donnell apart from the other two is Rosie's going totally gray. She's just letting it hang these days, talking to the squirrels in the backyard at her mansion in California. But Maddow and Cuban, and the only way I can tell Cuban apart from Maddow is Cuban's been wearing the big glasses lately. So Cuban's got the glasses, Rosie's got the gray hair, and Maddow looks the most put together, which isn't saying much.
There is a morphing going on.
Yes. Oh, it's happening in front of our eyes. I mean, you'd be blind not to see it, but you can't miss it. It's clear as day. But yes, good observation there too. Rachel Maddow, you can tell, is starting to understand that Republicans are about to win the White House At that point in the night, they had already won the Senate, and obviously the House was always looking pretty good in their favor. 913-408-7957. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. It's great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. My wife has already sent me a list of what to get at the liquor store today, so everything's going great with my parents, I'm sure, at the house if she's thinking about the booze at 625. Let's go to Paul in Kansas City. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Pete, just as you were talking, I'm watching Morning Joe, and the grifter in charge, Sharpton's saying, well, you know, she got the third most votes of any candidate, and now Trump's only at 49.9. He only won by 2 million. This is great. This is awesome. So,
is that right? Is that what old Al Sharpton's doing this morning over on Morning Joe?
Exactly. I'm listening to both and watching both, and he's doing it at the same time you're talking. He's doing the same thing with Willie on there. They just can't get over it.
Old Willie Geist. Oh man. So how will you do this, Paul? How are you listening to me while you're also listening to Morning Joe? You got us each in one ear?
Yeah, I've got my little portable radio right here while I'm sitting in my chair drinking my coffee, and I listen to them at the same time because I like the contrast, so I can get you the latest update that. So exactly as with the topic you're talking about, they're doing the same darn thing, but from a narrative that Paul Pult would be proud of.
Well, Paul, we appreciate guys like you that are doing the heavy lifting of having to watch Morning Joe because I can only do so much of it, my man.
Oh, I hear you, Pete. Have a great Thanksgiving,
Hey,
Pete.
Happy Thanksgiving there, Paul. Well done, my man. Very well done. 913-408-7957. It's good to have people who are, I'll pop it on once in a while. I'll check out Morning Joe, but you can't do too much of that. You're going to go crazy. My doctor already said to take it easy on that stuff. So either way, nice job there by Paul as we roll till 6:30 on 95.7 FM. Of course, we're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app as we get it going on a Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve here on KCMO. Man, oh man, there is still going to be a lot to get to. We will get you the update from the airport here coming up in a few minutes. Just good to know what it's looking like there today before Thanksgiving. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be a zoo. I can guarantee you that much. Give yourself time if you're going to pick up. If you're leaving today, as someone who has traveled the last 5 years on either the Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Tuesday's better than Wednesday, but they both stink. And I'm grateful to not be doing it this year for the first time since 2018, since right before Claire was born. That's why we didn't travel that year. It was our first year in Kansas City, and we decided to not go ahead with any travel for obvious reasons. But then we traveled 2019, 2020 was the COVID year when they asked us for our papers. I cannot believe that was a real thing in America. We got off the plane at LaGuardia in New York, and there were cops there who gave us paperwork that we had to fill out, all our information, and the addresses of where we plan to spend time for the next few days.
Papers, please.
That's exactly what it was. That's what it felt like. The addresses of where we were going to be so they could contact trace around COVID. This was November of 2020. Pure insanity. Never forget that, by the way. Please never forget that. 1 in 4 people still carrying weight from the holidays last year. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it's going to be okay. It is. It's
Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
Remind me to use that drop at least once an hour here. Former KCMO Health Director Rex Archer. One of the favorite drops of this show since he said that 4 years ago, right before Thanksgiving of COVID, when he was trying to tell us to not see family and hide out in the bathroom so we wouldn't get a cold. Remember those days, John?
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if we could get our crack engineering staff to rig that drop up in a greeting card, a Monday in the morning Happy Thanksgiving card.
That would be great. That would be great. Happy Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. You know, the girls and I, whenever I take them to CVS, they always want to go look at the cards that make noises.
Right.
So maybe we could get our own.
Right.
Get it patented, get it into CVS's around Kansas City. We could make a fortune on these. So, new survey is out, says of 2,000 Americans surveyed here, according to new research, a quarter of Americans are still carrying weight they gained during last year's holiday season. On average, talking about 10 pounds of those 1 in 4 Americans who still have some of the weight on from the holidays of 2023. They're also expecting to gain even more weight. Jeez, come on now. I know you want to celebrate Trump's win, but be confident in yourself here. Respondents think they'll gain another 6 pounds before changing their calendars to January of 2025. It's the 7th straight year they've done this research with Talker Research on behalf of Herbalife, and it's called Holiday Healthy Habits. And the results looked at Americans' healthy habits in 2024 and how people are moving away from their routines as the holidays approach. Half of Americans surveyed said they're less healthy than usual as the end of the year approaches. And 43% said they use the end of the year as an excuse to postpone eating healthily. This varied by generation as well. 64% of Gen Z, that's the younger folks, admitted to using the holiday season as an excuse, compared to 43% of Gen Xers, who are, of course, older. Gen Xers are mid-40s to early 40s to late 50s at this point. Well, the Gen Xers know they can't afford to do it anymore. Gen Zers can bounce back pretty quick. Like when you're 22, you'll bounce back a lot faster than when you're 52. So they know that they've got a little more wiggle room. Regardless of age, the results also found that 53% have broken a diet at the end of the year, 36% admitting it was due to temptations of holiday food. Many respondents admit they're pausing their healthy habits so they can best enjoy the holiday season. 62% of respondents said the end of the year is more enjoyable if they're not worried about healthy habits and their weight. Well, yeah, life is more enjoyable when you're not worried about healthy habits and weight. But then you realize there are great benefits in life to not being overweight. Younger responders more likely to agree, 72% of Gen Zers compared to 61% of Gen Xers. So none of this is all that surprising. And also, as part of this study, 36% plan to make a New Year's resolution for 2025 compared to 47% last year, John.
Yeah.
So just take it all with a grain of salt. Try to be healthy over the next few days.
Your example of inflation and weight gains would be appropriate here.
It would be.
I mean, it's a cumulative effect. I'm still got this baby weight from when Mark and Heidi had Brielle. It's piling up on me.
It is coming up, isn't it? Well, yeah, it's like, this year I'm only going to put on 5 pounds during the holidays. Right. Last year I put on 10 pounds.
Yeah, whatever. Right.
But this year I'm only putting on 5.
Yeah,
that is
down.
It's like Joe Biden bragging about inflation only being 3%, when last year it was 7 and the year before that it was 10. It's like, buddy, you can't brag about those things, okay? That's not a good sign. Now, speaking of weight gain, this came down from the Associated Press yesterday. Joe Biden is proposing Medicare and Medicaid cover 2 very popular weight loss drugs, Wegovy and Ozempic. That's right. The costly proposal from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services immediately sets the stage for a showdown between the powerful pharmaceutical industry and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an outspoken opponent of the weight loss drugs, who, as President-elect Donald Trump's nominee to lead the agency, could block the measure. The rule would give millions of people access to weekly injectables that have helped people shed pounds so quickly that some have labeled them miracle drugs. But it would cost taxpayers as much as $35 billion over the next decade. The current Health and Human Services Secretary, his name is Xavier Becerra, he told the AP it's a good day for anyone who suffers from obesity. It's a game changer for Americans who can't afford these drugs otherwise. Now, wait, stop. Where's my record scratch when I need it? Hold on a second. Pump the brakes. I have been assured for the last several years that fat positivity is the proper response to obesity. That big is beautiful. That weight is just a number. That you can't judge, you cannot shame, you cannot try to convince anybody to be healthy. Because being fat is nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not saying you should fat shame people, but we used to live in a proper country where when somebody was obese, you would try to help them as a friend, as a family member. You would try to encourage them as a friend, as a family member. But we've been in this weird time now where you get fat people who are now Victoria's Secret models because, well, big is beautiful. And we wouldn't want to fat shame. We want to be inclusive. Are you telling me that the left has been lying to me about this all this time? Because which one is it? If fat is something that you want to normalize, which is what we've been told now for the last several years, whether it's through the celebrities that you see, right? Lizzo, whether it's through what you see in models, in women's underwear commercials, magazines, social media. We were told that being fat is A-okay, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. But now you've got the Biden administration and the current Health and Human Services Secretary, Xavier Becerra, saying this is a good day for anyone who suffers from obesity. Well, is it really a good day? Because you told me there's nothing wrong with being fat, so which one is it? Now, this rule would not be finalized until January, days after Donald Trump takes office. And a bipartisan coalition of congressional members have lobbied the drugs to be covered by Medicare, saying it could save the government from spending billions of dollars on treating chronic ailments that stem from obesity. It's unclear where Trump himself stands on the coverage of weight loss drugs. His allies and cabinet picks who have vowed to cut the government spending could balk at the upfront price tag. Under the proposal, only those who are considered obese, someone who has a body mass index of 30 or higher, would qualify for the coverage. Some people may already get coverage of these drugs through Medicare or Medicaid if they have diabetes or are at risk of stroke or heart disease. You know, if someone crunches the numbers on this and shows, yes, it'll cost $30 billion up front, but all the health issues that stem from obesity cost, let's say, $100 billion, I'm actually not against this if the numbers work out. Because do you realize how much money we spend in Medicare and Medicaid in particular on people who are obese? It's ridiculous, and all the health issues that stem from obesity. I actually don't hate this. I just want to see the numbers behind it. But I think two things can happen here. You can take this approach, right? You can say, okay, you want Medicare and Medicaid to cover Wegovy, Ozempic, although you might also have then a big run on Wegovy and Ozempic, which might drive up the cost for everybody else. So you want to be careful on that. But at the same time, the things that RFK is talking about, the additives in our food, the garbage that we eat, the way that the food stamp model is not geared towards healthy eating, all those things can also be reformed and should be reformed because that's how you get to the actual core issue of what's going on. All this stuff is reactive, right? What they're talking about here in terms of maybe getting people who are obese on Wegovy or Ozempic through Medicare or Medicaid, that's reactive. We still have to get to the core of the problem, and that is much more about what RFK is trying to address and much more about what RFK wants to lead the way on. So both these things can potentially work. I just want to see Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, the Doge guys, crunch the numbers for me first. That's what I'm looking for. 8:05, it is great to be here on a Thanksgiving Eve with you on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're always streaming, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. That way, as you get settled and you're maybe at your Aunt Karen's house this week, well, you can share the show with her. You can just tell Google to play KCMO Talk Radio. You can tell your Alexa to play KCMO Talk Radio, and you'll be A-okay. You'll be all set. All right, so with that, let me share this letter to the editor in the Kansas City Star. And if you are somebody who is about to spend your Thanksgiving with someone who you know is going to bring up politics, with somebody who you know is going to try to get your goad when it comes to Donald Trump and the election, how are you handling it? Because I'm telling you right now, there are many of you out there who are in need of that advice. Now, I will give you some as well as someone who's been in that scenario before, but I also have a perspective that might not be the best. And the reason I say that is because I do this every day. So I don't ever feel the need to talk about this stuff the second I get off the air at 10 o'clock. Now, of course, I always will, and I'm happy to engage anybody, whether it's, listeners I see out and about or whatever it might be. In the office, I mean, obviously people know where I stand, but I don't go around and promote it because my attitude is people know where I'm at. I get to share these opinions 20 hours a week. So I'm not dying to do it on Facebook. I'm not dying to do it at Thanksgiving dinner, John.
Well, at least in the Peanuts comic strip, Lucy could put a sign out that said the doctor is in. Yeah. So she would know, right?
That's yes. Oh, man. So some of the letters to the editor at the Kansas City Star were pretty good. I'll share that with you, and then we'll get to you as well. 913-408-7957. And just a reminder, text line down today. So the phones or social media, the best way to get a hold of us.
Pete.
I know. We're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way here. I know a lot of you like the text line, but you're going to have to pick up the phone today.
Throwback day.
It is 913-408-7957. Here is one letter to the editor that has stood out to me. Most of my friends and I have struggled after the election. Oh, boy. You're going to be okay. He's
a cuckoo bird.
Although I have tried to tell them that some of these people are very nice, I have found myself avoiding a few who I know who voted for Donald Trump. Melinda Hennenberg, they're talking about someone who wrote an article in the Kansas City Star headlined, "Yes, Eat Turkey with Those Who Didn't Vote Like You," shared so many reasons we should continue to associate with people who didn't vote like us. I am sharing her column with several friends. That one stood out to me in the Kansas City Star letter to the editor. Now, I do find it interesting that there is this very liberal mentality over the last few weeks, and you see this conversation bouncing around social media as well. Boy, do I go to Thanksgiving with my Trump-supporting friends and family? Should I celebrate with them? Do I want to show up? Do I want them to secretly show up? If you're even asking yourself that question, then you're the one who's the problem, not them. Now, I'm all about winning with grace and class most of the time. I mean, heck, when I want to blast some YMCA, I might do that. A funny thing to do, don't bring up politics if you're hosting this year with people that don't view the world the same as you. But what would be very funny is to put on your music playlist like Trump's greatest hits.
That was going to be my advice to everybody.
Yes.
Just have your Spotify playlist ready to go.
Yes. Low key.
Start it up.
Low
YMCA.
key. That's right. A little YMCA, a little Macho Man. Just Trump's greatest hits.
God bless the USA.
Yeah, well, maybe that might be too obvious. That might be too obvious. If you play Lee Greenwood, the cat's out of the bag. You can't, I would not go Lee Greenwood. But I would do the playlist that brings a smile to your face while they may not know what's going on. Because if they don't know that, Donald Trump's playlist is what it is, YMCA might give it away. But outside of that, yeah, if you put together your Spotify Trump playlist, and there's a lot of them on there, I put them together, you just search it. I've seen them myself. And it's pretty good. It's all the songs that he'll play at a rally. You've got Elton John on there. You've got the Rolling Stones. I mean, we play it in the house all the time. The girls love it. They don't know what it is. They don't know why. But they're like, hey, this is pretty good. A little Guns N' Roses. So Aerosmith, Journey. It's just classic rock, classic hits combo is really what it is in large part. But your family won't know. But you secretly will. And that, to me, is the play here. I saw this on X as well. Some people were bemoaning their upcoming Thanksgiving plans. And this is from a guy I follow up in the northwest part of the country. He writes here, my 3 daughters all voted for Kamala Harris in Oregon, a state that gave all its electoral college votes to Kamala Harris. 2 of them have now stopped speaking to me, and one is boycotting Thanksgiving because I voted for Trump. I did not tell them how to vote, nor ever presume to argue or convince them that they are misled by propaganda. I let them vote how they wish. It sucks that I must now suffer their childish and frankly rude behavior merely because they believe my one vote harmed them or their rights in some way. Like, that is sad to me when it's your kids, your daughters doing that to you, John.
A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. This is the part where Sharon Stone was right about America being adolescent.
Yes, except she wasn't
She didn't
talking
mean
about
it the
her
way
own.
that I do.
Yeah, yes.
But the blind squirrel found a nut there.
Yes, you are spot on. She was not even talking about herself or the people in her inner circle, which is what she should have been talking about.
No introspection.
No, that's not allowed on the left, right? But if you are someone who is getting set for a big Thanksgiving, I'm not. The only thing I've got to worry about, and it's not even a worry, I say this tongue in cheek, is my brother might be to the right of me on some things. You know, he's like, I don't even know if he's to the right of me. I don't know what he is, but he's all about RFK Jr. He loves the guy. And I like him too. I like him. I don't love him. I like him. And I only like him on certain things. I like him on making America healthy again. I like him on Maha. I don't love him on energy. There's certainly things about him that he's still very liberal about that I don't like him, but my brother loves him. So I've only got to worry about reining him in a little bit when it comes to his man crush on RFK Jr. But outside of that, I don't really have any major worries. But I know some of you do. And if you want to talk it out with us, now is the time to do it at 913-408-7957 before we get to our friend Patrick Toohey at the bottom of the hour.
And then the old man on the show said, whatever happened to not talking about sex, religion, and politics at the table? Well, I bust out my deck of poker cards with topless ladies on them. I might as well just go ahead and throw fire.
Yeah, might as well, John.
Throw some gasoline on the fire at the table.
Maybe bring your Playboys from the 70s or something while you're at it, right? Speaking of old Sharon Stone.
Look at these tan lines.
Yeah. Oh, I saw something funny from a guy I follow who's a Texan. Thanksgiving conversation topics, all acceptable. Israel, Palestine, the election, gender, abortion, not acceptable. Texas versus Texas A&M coming up this weekend. 913-408-7957. It's 8:14 on a pre-Thanksgiving Wednesday on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Did you see this out of Johnson County? The county commission is considering giving themselves a 23% pay raise. Unbelievable. So here's the story out of the Johnson County Post. And how convenient to wait until after the election to bring this topic up. County commissioners in Johnson County are considering raising their salaries 23% next year for their first salary increase since 2011. A move that some said would make it easier for people from all financial backgrounds to serve in office. So yesterday afternoon in a committee meeting, a 5-2 majority, or this was actually late last week, it just got reported here yesterday by the Johnson County Post. A 5-2 majority of commissioners voted to bring the proposed increase to the regular agenda. The increase follows a recommendation by an ad hoc advisory committee set up last summer to study the issue. Study the issue. What a joke. It's such a joke when they do this, right? We're going to have a committee come in and this group's going to study whether or not we should give ourselves pay raises. Yeah, because they were definitely going to come back and say, nah, don't do it. That never happens.
Yeah, right.
You hire this outside group. It's like watching a rigged sporting event. WWE. We all know what the outcome is going to be, okay? You hire the outside group to justify you getting a pay raise for yourself and you giving yourself a pay raise. And it's always done in the name of, well, we want more people to be able to run for our roles. Okay, so how about this? If you vote for the pay raise and you say it's because you want people of lesser means and different backgrounds to run for office, then you should also resign and not run for re-election next time you're up. How's that sound? Because by your own justification, you want people of different backgrounds beyond yourselves to run for office. So vote yourself a pay raise of 23%, and then every single person, from the chair to every member on that Johnson County Commission, should then come out and say, by the way, I am not running for re-election. Here's what the numbers look like. The committee recommended the commission's chair salary be increased to $92,500 from its current $75,000. That would be for Chairman Mike Kelly. County commissioners' pay would go from $48,000 to $58,000. I wonder how, or technically $58,300. I wonder how this ad hoc advisory committee that was set up to study the issue, I wonder how they came up with the $58,300 and then the $92,500. Why don't they just pick nice round numbers? What is the math and the reason behind $92,500 and $58,300?
Keeping up with the school board.
Maybe that's it. The commission is also considering a 1.5% increase each year as a feature of the county budget. Board members stressed that they could adjust or remove that during annual budget discussions. Listen, this is not the thing that's going to break Johnson County. It's not. Like, of all the things they waste money on, this is low on the list. They haven't raised their salaries in 13 years. Like, I'm really not going to go nuts over this. I don't think that the $58,000 is in any way unreasonable for a county commission role. I know you'll say, well, it's part-time, but it could be full-time for people depending on how much they want to end up doing. It's still less than Kansas City City Council members pay themselves. I believe a lot less. So I'm not going to go nuts over it because of all the things to fight in the Johnson County budget. It's not what is really amounting to maybe a total of $100,000 a year in salary increases for the commissioners. But what does bother me is that, amazingly, the study came back after the election when a bunch of them were just on the ballot. How convenient. And it's still the fact that they are just, raking you over the coals on these property taxes. So you might have seen there's a lot of talk in Topeka about the state of Kansas looking to cut property taxes. And I'm all about cutting taxes. I'm all about keeping as much money as you can in your own pockets. But I will say I think some of those efforts are misguided by Republicans in Topeka. And here's what I mean. I would rather see a focus on keeping local taxes under control, because if you look at your tax bill, the vast majority, I don't have mine in front of me, but they send it out every year. The vast majority of your property taxes are to your county, your city, your school board. I'm estimating here, but maybe 10% of your property taxes go to the state. It's a very small number when you compare it to the amount of your property taxes that are going to your city, your county, and your school board. I have a much bigger issue with Johnson County and the cities of Overland Park and Olathe, and really all of them, and what they do with our tax dollars and the increases they have gone after. And they always mask it by saying, oh, the mill levy came down. I don't care if the mill levy came down and my taxes went up 10 to 15%. Stop using the mill levy as some lame excuse for why, well, we could have hit you a lot worse. You know, I'm on my HOA board. I got dragged into it. I really, trust me, I went there. I brought up a couple issues, and they're like, hey, you'd be great on the board. And I'm like, okay, I'll give back. I'll help out. Fine. And trust me, one of the reasons they wanted me on there was because I'm not the guy that's saying, hey, your lawn isn't been mowed in a week. What are you doing? Mow that lawn, Mark Van Sickle. Your lawn's not mowed. Like, I am not that guy. I don't reach out to anybody. If someone has an issue, they can reach out to me. But we were discussing the dues that, these HOAs all have. And there were people on the board who they said, we got to increase the dues. And I was like, no, we don't. We're not increasing the dues. We paid our bills last year. There's a little money left over. We're expecting a similar budget this year. We're not increasing the dues. And this is what one person said to me. They said, I don't hear anybody complain about our dues being too high. And you know what I said to him? I said, that's not the point. The point is, can we run this neighborhood on the budget as it currently is? And the answer is yes. So why would you raise the dues on people? First off, your anecdotal experience over whether or not your friends in the neighborhood think the dues are too high really isn't the point. The point is a simple one. Can you run the place? Can you run a business? Can you run an HOA? Can you run a city with the budget as it currently exists? And are you being smart with your neighbor's money? Are you being smart with your citizens' money? And if the answer is yes, then great, you're doing a good job. But don't take more of it just because you think you can. And that's what it feels like these counties and cities are doing in Johnson County.
And if people aren't complaining about the HOA being too high, that's good. You're going to have a happy neighborhood.
Well, exactly right. Why just take more money because you think you can? That's not how an HOA should be run. That's not how a city should be run, a county or a state. It's just bad and dumb politics. And if I'm looking at property tax issues, like I get why Topeka and the Republicans up there want to do their thing, but what I really would like them to do is highlight or continue to highlight how the issues with your property taxes are not at the state level. It's at the county and the city level. Andy's in Shawnee. You're on KCMO. Andy, what's up?
So there's the two doctors that Trump has appointed, Dr. Bacharya and Dr. Neshawat. So
I hope you're tying this back to whatever we're talking about here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you moved on from the appointments? Sorry, we
haven't talked about the appointments all morning.
Yeah. So Dr. Bacharya, he was on the Great Barrington debate as far as writing that up.
Okay.
Nobody cares.
Sorry, Andy. I don't know if you started partying a little early. I know it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's probably my bad.
That's okay, John.
Sorry,
it happens.
Andy.
Hey, John's in vacation mode too. All right, that's it happens. We're all checked out.
How dare you?
It's no. Everyone's going to be just fine.
Chasing it rebuked.
It's all right. I mean, it could have been Kamala Harris putting out the video yesterday where she looked like she was half in the bag.
It's almost Thanksgiving.
I know. You're right. It is. Good point.
Thanksgiving. Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving. Love Thanksgiving, said Rex Archer, former KCMO health director. I got to burn through that drop because I can't use it starting Friday for at least 7 or 8 months. You really have a very small window for the drop. And the drop is anywhere from, it's probably good around mid-October until today. But after today, the drop is done. The drop is old, so I really can't use it anymore. So I got to burn through it as much as I can. And I sometimes don't work on this day. I have taken this day off in past years. But I'm not traveling this year, so I'm here. So now I've really got to burn through this thing as much as I can with old fat boy Rex Archer, former Kansas City health director on KCMO Talk Radio. You want to know why people also voted for Donald Trump as we sit here 22 days after the election? It's this kind of approach that people wanted to see in their American politics. And I don't mean the curse word that is about to air on KCMO. Wait, you bleeped it, right, Mark? Okay. I'm getting the thumbs up. I'm trusting you. I actually haven't heard the clip. I've heard the clip, but I've only heard it with the curse word in it. So I'm trusting Mark. He bleeped it out. But here's Donald Trump 13 years ago talking about tariffs and in part explaining how it's the messenger that matters. This is also like Business 101, Negotiating 101, an old clip of Donald Trump talking during the campaign of 2012. He wasn't running, obviously. He was kind of teasing that he might run and was considering running, but he had been doing that for 25 years at that point. So here he is on the tariffs, Donald Trump, 13 years ago.
Somebody said, well, what would you do? What can you do? So easy. I drop a 25% tax on China. And I said to somebody that it's really the messenger. The messenger is important. I could have one man say, we're going to tax you 25%. And I could say another, listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%.
Oh, man, that is the most Trumpian explanation of how to negotiate and how to do business. And that is exactly, especially after 4 years of Joe Biden, who I was talking to my dad about this last night when he got to town. Imagine being the translator for President Xi, trying to tell your boss what Joe Biden is saying and mumbling and bumbling his way through. and then looking at Xi and being like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. That's what the guy just said. What do you want to say back to him? I'm just the messenger here. Don't shoot the messenger. And then you got Trump coming in saying, listen, you MFers, we're going to tax you 25%. And it feels like that's exactly the approach he took this week when he announced day one tariffs on Mexico and Canada. And as I've said since the tariff conversation came up, I'm not a tariff guy. I get that the tariff can be passed on to the consumer. It can cause inflation, but remember this. It also can be used as a powerful negotiating tool, and it can be used for a lot of leverage. And when you look at it, Mexico needs us. 84% of their exports go to the U.S. Canada needs us. 77% of their exports go to the U.S. Trump's got leverage here, and deep down he knows it. But the way it's being written about in media is very much like, oh, we don't want to hurt our neighbors. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Trump's tariffs threat pits Canada against Mexico. They write here, the president-elect's opening salvo in trade and border talks with the United States' neighbors is casting a harsh light on the North American trade alliance. Says here after his missive on Monday, in which he said he planned to impose a 25% tariff on all imports from both the U.S. neighbors, Ottawa and Mexico City followed starkly different approaches. Mexico took a tough stance, threatening to retaliate. Canada instead emphasized that it was much closer aligned to the U.S. than Mexico. The trade agreement between these three North American nations has been carefully maintained over the past 3 decades through a delicate balance between the United States and its two key allies. As Mr. Trump prepares to take office, writes the New York Times, his willingness to tear that up, to pressure the two countries on migration, could open the door to the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement being replaced by separate bilateral deals with the United States. Now, that's all based in nothing. That is all fear-mongering from the New York Times. That's all that is. Trump was in office for 4 years. You guys tried this. It didn't work. Trump was largely effective when it came to his trade policies and certainly very effective on his economic policies. And the reality is this. These things are not working right now for the American people. And when I say these things, I mean the border policies that, yes, Trump is going to help improve, but Mexico's got to do its job. They've got a much smaller border on the southern side than we do, and they have been totally derelict in their duty and partnership with the United States in allowing the cartels to run the show, caravans to pour across the nation. That's on them. They have allowed fentanyl to pour into this country through Mexico, coming from China, courtesy of the cartels, and it's resulted in record levels of drug poisonings and overdose in America the last few years, with over 100,000 people annually dying from drug overdoses, the large percentage of which are driven by fentanyl. Our people are getting killed by the horrible turn the other cheek policies of the Mexican government, allowing China to use the cartel south of the border to kill Americans and then send some of the worst actors on the planet into this country. And the New York Times is like, I don't want to offend Mexico and Canada, and this relationship might get a little more complicated. People are done. They don't care right now. They're fed up with the status quo. And it doesn't mean I don't want a good relationship with Mexico and Canada. I do. We all should want that. But having somebody like Trump go in, shake it up, and tell these two countries that your days of basically screwing us are over. And your days of not doing what we want you to do are over. Because guess what? We are still the world economic engine. You need us. Yes, we do need you. I get it. We do need you. We do a lot of business across both countries, but you need us. And it's time to realize that, John.
This is the way they understand it. The United States just changed its relationship to It's Complicated on Facebook with China, and Canada and Mexico.
Those were simpler
They'll
times.
understand that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
complicated.
It's complicated. Remember that when you used to put up statuses like that in relation? Is that still available? It's complicated. I've been married for 10 years on Facebook, and in real life, so I don't even know if
you
you
can put it up there in pirate talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, brother.